Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So while I'm still doing my due diligence and research on the 2020 prospects going into the 2020 NHL draft, of course, and once I get all that done, I am going to be doing different types of videos, whether it be prospect rankings 1 through 10 for the first round, etc., mock drafts, who I think will go where, or players that will be best fit for each team in the first round, and then on. Until I get all that done, I figured why not focus on some guys that I already have some familiarity with, as they have already been drafted. So for this video, I'm going to discuss, of course, players that have been drafted by the NHL already and are currently playing in Europe. And the only exception I give to this is that if they did sign an entry-level deal, that they are currently on a European assignment clause. So besides that, guys like, of course, Alexander Romanov, Grigory Denisenko, and soon to be Ilya Sorokin, as there's been all the connection that he will sign his ELC sooner rather than later. I'm going to exclude those guys from the list, even though they haven't played in North America yet. I fully expect them to pretty much play in the NHL as soon as they come in next season. I don't think they're going to spend much of any time in the AHL, so those are guys I'm not going to have on this list, but the only exception, like I said, for guys who have signed their entry-level deals are ones that are currently on a European assignment clause. So to start off this video, at number 5 on my list, I have left-handed defenseman Phillip Berg. Phillip Berg, of course, he was drafted in the first round, 8th overall, by the Edmonton Oilers last year in the 2019 draft, and he is kind of a controversial topic I've seen from a lot of different reporters and just people that have talked about his overall game. There's a lot to like and some to dislike. So breaking down Broberg's game, he is, of course, a two-way defenseman that has offensive potential. If you look what he did in his rookie year this past season in the SHL IIK, in 45 games played, he had 1 goal, 7 assists for 8 points and a plus-minus of +0. And he also played in the World Junior Championship for the U20 juniors for Sweden, and in 7 games he had 1 goal and a plus-minus of -3. So not fantastic, but not terrible at all either, especially given the fact that he is a rookie, 18 years old, looking solid in a men's league and the Swedish Elite League, of course, and he is only going to continue to get better with age, obviously. Broberg, he is a bigger body defenseman that has some offensive touch. He can work on his shot a little bit that I think will benefit him, and in the defensive zone, he looks very strong at times, and other times kind of lackluster, if I'm being honest, which has kind of been more controversial with his overall game. And I've seen redrafts and stuff regarding him that people would not have picked him as high as the Oilers did. So it's going to be interesting to see what his potential is. But he does, of course, have the somewhat potential of being a top-pairing defenseman for the Oilers, or at least top 3. And as long as he continues to develop right and continue to progress his game in a men's league like the SHL, then I fully expect him to have a very strong NHL career eventually. But expanding more on his game, like I said, he is kind of lackluster in his own zone at times, and at other times he looks very strong. He just needs more consistency in his game overall. He has decent puck skills. He's a very strong skater with size and speed, and overall, there is plenty to like with his overall game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with a guy like Phillip Berg, but I wouldn't say that he's going to be bust by any means. I think he just needs more developing, and overall, he already is, in my opinion, a top 5 prospect in the NHL, currently playing in Europe, at least. So next on my list, at number 4, I have the right winger, Vasily Podkolzin. Vasily Podkolzin, when he was drafted, I thought it was a very interesting move by the Canucks. I didn't think they were going to get a guy like him, but I thought it was a very strong move looking back. Podkolzin, of course, was just drafted 2 picks later after the Oilers took Broberg in the 2019 draft at 10th overall. The 18-year-old winger has played with St. Petersburg Ska in the KHL this season, and in his first kind of full season, even though it isn't really full, his rookie year, in 30 games played, he had 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points and a plus-minus of +8, and he also played in the U20 World Junior Championship, but for Russia, and this past year, and in 7 games played, he had 1 goal, 4 assists for 5 points, and a plus-minus of +0. So not bad at all. And Podkolzin, when it comes to his game, he really looks like he has some elite talent, elite potential when it comes to his speed and size, being a strongman on the puck. The only real problem that I have with him is just him, of course, being more consistent, adapting more with his overall game in the KHL, because he definitely looked a little skittish when he first came into the KHL, and since then has done better. He has somewhat of a selfish selfish game at times, which tends to be a trend with certain players like himself. But I think he will, of course, get out of it, and I think the more comfortable he will be in the KHL. Of course, being an 18-year-old in men's league is impressive enough, but as long as he gets more comfortable, I expect that playmaking skills to be more prominent. He has a very strong shot that I would like to see more from him, and like I said, as he gets older, a lot can be expected from him, and rightfully so. The fact that he's playing this well as an 18-year-old in the KHL is telling, and he really looks like a player that could be a very elite or very strong forward, at least for the Vancouver Canucks in the future, in their top 6 or possibly on their top line. So a lot to like when it comes to Vasily Podkolzin, and it looks like a very strong pick for the Vancouver Canucks looking back a year later. Next on my list now, I have the right-hand defenseman Victor Soderstrom. He is another guy like Broberg who has signed their entry-level deals already, but is on a European assignment clause. He has not played a game in the AHL or anything like that. Soderstrom, he's a 19-year-old defenseman. He was drafted right after Vasily Podkolzin with the 11th pick by the Arizona Coyotes in the 2019 draft. And in his first year, or I should say second year in the SHL, I'm going to butcher this name of the team, but Brynäs IF Gavli or Gavel, I'm butchering that, I apologize. But in the SHL, in 35 games played, he had, of course, 5 goals, 11 assists for 16 points, and a plus-minus and -2. Very strong numbers there. And when it comes to Soderstrom, I really liked his game from when I first saw highlights of him leading up to the 2019 draft. He has a great speed and agility. He's a two-way defenseman, of course. Very strong all-around game. And from reports I've seen from online and stuff, there's been some similarities with him possibly being a guy like Hampus Lindholm, which would be perfect for the Arizona Coyotes, as Lindholm is a very underrated two-way defenseman, in my opinion, playing for the Anaheim Ducks, of course. But who knows? I wouldn't necessarily compare him to anyone else, considering he hasn't even played a game in the AHL yet. But overall, when it comes more to his game, he has a decent shot. It could use a little bit more power, which would be my only problem when it comes to his overall game. If he gets more strength and builds some more weight, which he will, then that shot is going to be better. He is smooth skating, like I said, strong in the offensive zone, and is very aware in his own zone. He has a very good overall game, and I don't think he's very strong necessarily in the defensive zone over the offensive zone or vice versa. His overall game looks very strong and could be a key contributor to the Arizona Coyotes going in the future as a top 2 to top 4 defenseman. Next on my list now, at number 2, I have right-handed defenseman Nils Lundqvist for the New York Rangers. Nils was, of course, drafted in the first round, but back in 2018 with the 28th overall pick by the Rangers. And Lundqvist has really taken a huge step in his overall game in the SHL as a 19-year-old, looking dominant in doing so. Playing for Lilia HF in the SHL in 45 games played this past season, he had 11 goals, 20 assists for 31 points, and a plus-minus of +18 as a defenseman. Watching all the highlights that I have, as I am a Rangers fan too, so I've seen more of Nils Lundqvist than some of the other guys on this list. Well, he's fantastic in the offensive zone. He has a lethal shot, whether it be his wrister or his 1T. He can be in that left dot, or he can be all around, quarterbacking the power play, making things happen. He has great hockey IQ and very smooth skating, very agile. Even though he is somewhat of a smaller stature defenseman, that does not change his game or ability by any means. But breaking down more of Nils Lundqvist, of course, he also played with Broberg in the U20 World Junior Championship this past year, and in 7 games played, he had 1 goal, 6 assists for 70 points, a point per game player, and a plus-minus of +2. He's a fantastic skater, like I said, has a very strong hockey IQ and offensive awareness, and he very well could sign his entry-level deal with the Rangers as soon as this offseason. There's been some speculation I've seen recently that he might do it, but nothing has been significant yet. So we'll see what happens, as with the ongoing pandemic, of course, a lot has changed for a lot of these players with signing deals, and that leads me to the number 1 guy on my list, and that is left winger Kirill Kaprizov. And I could have pronounced his first name wrong, I apologize. But Kaprizov, as we all know, is arguably the best player out of the NHL, and it really isn't that close. The 23-year-old left winger was drafted in the 5th round by the Minnesota Wild, 135th overall back in 2015. He has been dominant, arguably the best player in the KHL since then, and this season with CSKA Moscow in 57 games played, he had 33 goals, 29 assists for 62 points, and a plus-minus of +32. Those are ridiculous numbers, especially playing in the KHL. This is back-to-back seasons now where he's had over 30 goals and 50-plus points. really looking strong in his overall game. He is already an NHL caliber talent, and the only reason why he hasn't been in the NHL already is due to his KHL contract. And from recent reports that I have seen now, which is interesting because I didn't know much about it going into this video, is that there has been some confusion with the Minnesota Wild with trying to obtain Kaprizov, because the goal was to sign him to a 2-year entry-level deal going into next season, but that looks like that is possibly falling out now with the ongoing pandemic happening globally right now. So that's really unfortunate. The Minnesota Wild, if they do obtain a guy like Kaprizov sometime soon, he will be their leader. There's no question. He looks like he is an offensive dynamo, a great playmaker with strong overall ability in the offensive zone, not much of a defensive liability in his own zone, which is very important, of course. And even though he is slightly smaller in stature, that does not faze him whatsoever. He looks like a fantastic talent, and when the Wild do obtain him, hopefully at some point soon, he will be their leader and could be a dominant force in the NHL right away. But that is going to conclude my video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, let me know in the comments below if you agreed or disagreed with me on my top 5 players currently in Europe that only have a European assignment clause if they have an entry-level deal. If you have different players, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear it, maybe wondering why I didn't include certain players, and that is all because either they're playing in the AHL, have an entry-level deal without an assignment clause, or maybe there's a player I missed that you could tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. But if you haven't checked out my previous videos, do write down here below. I'll have my previous videos right here. And with all those things being said, thank you all so much. Please like, subscribe, comment if you like this, as I previously said, and I'll be back in a day or two.